In the governing body extraordinary meeting, no, I can go through this quickly to start. Welcome back, everybody. We're now in the governing body meeting to consider the Tupuna Maunga Authority, the Merrill proposal, and the other fees and charges in the Franklin Local Board targeted rate. In theory, it should be quickly, but you never know. We have procedural items to get through, which I'll get straight away. There are, in terms of councillors, Councillor Fletcher's now online. She wasn't feeling terribly well. We wish her well. I don't think we're getting any other defections. If they are, they'll just be very short. So there are no apologies other than Councillor Fletcher's online. Declaration of interest. I don't think there's any new that weren't added this morning. We'll just record this morning's one if that's all right. No public input section. No local board input section at this stage. And there's no known extraordinary items. So I'll get on to the Tupuna Maunga Authority. We had a session on this last week, so I don't think there's a need to present again, but I'll move that we accept this and the Deputy Mayor will second it. Dominic Wilson, who's co-head of governance, is online. Dom, hello, kia ora. And Paul Majuri, the chairperson, it will be available if required. But the comprehensive recommendation is to agree to the Tupuna Maunga Authority Operational Plan 24-25, the summary of the Tupuna Maunga Operational Plan 24-25, and agree to include the approved summary of the operational plan in the long-term plan. Dominic, you can say a few words and introduce us if you wish.
Sir, I've been watching you all working so hard today, and so I'll try and be very succinct. The key point really for this paper is that every year the Tupuna Maunga Authority and the Auckland Council need to agree upon the budget for the Tupuna Maunga Authority. And of course, this year we have the long-term plan 2024-34. Also in every year we have public feedback, and that's been undertaken by both the authority itself, but also by the Auckland Council. And there were 27 pieces of feedback from the public, which are discussed in the report. And there were 9 local boards pieces of feedback also set out in the report in favour. And the next steps should the well, this matters of course for the governing body to decide today, but then if the next step, if it was approved, would be for the Tupuna Maunga Authority itself to consider the plan at its meeting of June coming up. Kia ora, sir. I'll leave it over back to you.
Deputy Mayor Simpson has
a question
of you, Dominic.
Thanks, Dominic. Many Aucklanders value mature trees, whether exotic or native, and can you confirm then that under the Integrated Management Plan, remaining exotic trees will only be removed if they are a pest species or present a health and safety risk?
I think my answer is going to be reasonably complex, but the first part to it is that the authority management team routinely monitor the maunga, and so there will be removal of pest species and species that pose a health and safety risks. The answer to that part is definitely a yes. And also I must admit there are from time to time matters come up with such things as Dutch elm disease, which require intervention. And of course in the last years we've seen storms such that very regularly trees are blowing down on the maunga, and there's a lot of requirement for us to keep an eye on that and manage trees in that relation. In terms of the integrated management plan, my answer to if there's any removals, it's all within in terms of that integrated management plan. And I'm sure you're aware that in 2022 there was an amendment to the plan which focused on the matter of vegetation restoration program, and was very specific for particularly for maunga, and also that amendment done in 2022 was subject to a full public consultation in terms of the Reserves Act and also the governing legislation. So that would be my answer there. Thank you.
Are you okay with that answer? Councillor Walker has a question.
Just got a further question with respect to vegetation management. Is the budget for vegetation management, and I'm referring to specifically the removal of mature trees, shown separately? And if not, why not?
The direction from the authority is to a program for restoration of the maunga, and that restoration is a program that involves both removals and planting. And so that's why in the operational plan you'll see that there's a figure for the restoration program. And we've been asked by various members in the past, in this past year, about what the breakdown of that figure that's in the ops plan is. It's a $1.1 million figure, and we've advised that the approximate broad breakdown is 1/3 removal, which is around 360,000, and 2/3 planting, which is around 720,000. Kelvin.
And the other question I've got is just around your monitoring of the survival rate of the small plants that are going in. Is that something that you monitor and report on regularly?
That's a really good question. It is. The advisors to the authority identified that there would be a likely survival rate, and that was factored into the maintenance contracts for the contractors who do the planting. And there's a process of checking up. There was, I know in some years we've had some drought some years back now, and that required more planting than was expected, but that has been happening, and it's a continuing program. So we're over 100,000 plants, native plants have been planted on the maunga in the last years.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the reason I ask these questions is residents of both localities around the Maunga and the wider Auckland area share a strong affinity with the trees on the Maunga, irrespective of whether they're native or not. And often those very mature exotics provide habitat for birds and any number of native wildlife. They don't necessarily discriminate between whether something is a native or an exotic. And I'm mindful that if you look back over time, many of the things that we classify as exotics, things like eucalypts, for example, Norfolk pines, and I could rattle off an extensive list, used to inhabit New Zealand. And we've got climate change, and over time, even the mix of what are now native plants will change inevitably. So we need to take sometimes a very long-term perspective around what we have in the landscape. Thank you.
Very much noted.
Councillor Leone.
Mine's more a comment rather than a question. Are we doing comments now, or you still just want to do questions?
Just say.
Yeah, okay. Look, I just want to acknowledge the great mahi that you're doing, Dominic, and I know that we brought this up in the workshop, but just to acknowledge again the awards that the Tupuna Maunga Authority have won recently. That's been outstanding work. So I just really want to mihi to you all for the great work that you do, the fact that we work really well with mana whenua, and that co-governance models here at Auckland Council are still alive and well, which is great. So ngā mihi nui. Kia ora.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Hills.
Kia ora, thank you very much. Just also want to acknowledge the amazing work of the Kaimahi for the Tupuna Maunga Authority. Huge amount of work goes on. The planting is pretty extraordinary, the planting program there, and the upgrades to the tracks and the assets, and also the important World War I and II assets on the Maunga in our North Shore ward as well. They've been upgraded and are looking great. So thank you for that. And also want to thank you for the transparency around things like trees. You know, I have some annoyances around the removal of some mature trees by other parts of council and our CCOs, and I find it very hard to get any information around why or if they could be protected or kept as part of projects. So and that's natives as well. So I'm quite happy with the amount of information you give us. So kia ora, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Dominic. There's no further debate. I'm going to put this motion. All those in favour, please say aye. 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 Contrary? Carried. Thank you very much for that, Dominic. The next item is the mayoral proposal